Okay, this one I can see I'm going to need to break up into a lot of smaller videos because it's going to be massive, so it might go into 5, 6, 7 parts, I'm not sure. So just giving you the heads up for you to watch and understand what this is all about. It's going to be important to watch the whole sequence, and sadly most people that I watch, when they come into the comments, they only pick on one section and then that's it, they don't watch the rest of it. So if you really want to get the value out of this, it's going to be critical to watch all of them, because every single part is something really powerful to offer to build the entire story, so you can get a complete understanding of why I'm even doing this video. So let's get started. So this started out as a video that showed up from this guy here. As you can see, look at the way they portrayed the video. This is that guy Cooney, I can't remember his name is. That senior constable from the highway patrol that came out against the whole COVID stuff. And yeah, so this video comes out portraying him as a good guy, yada yada, and police, there's some good guys in there. Yeah, the whole shebang. So I put a comment up in a group that I'm in Telegram, and so this is going to be about, the comments that came back from that, the people that, thought they were going to put something in that was something of value. I'm sure in their minds they actually believe it. So what we're going to do is we're going to unpack those comments, and also how true it really is that could be such a thing as someone who's doesn't understand and can just go in blindly without realizing what they're really doing, and that they had the best intentions. We're going to unpack all that. So that's the point of this. So this is the guy's name. So there it is, Alexander Cooney, Senior Constable, New South Wales Police Force. There's a critical word there. Highway Patrol. Now, if you saw the video I did just previously, it's about highway patrol pulling someone over and pirating the hell out of them, right? So basically this guy was a land pirate, basically, if we really understand what his job was, right? So now all of a sudden he's coming out and saying, oh no, this part I'm not going to stand for it, but everything I've done up until this point where I've been an outright criminal, I have no problem with that. I'm totally good with that. And when I say that, I'm going to give you evidence of what I mean by saying that. So if you're going to run away now, just because you heard something you mightn't like, just wait until you get the evidence first, right? Because all the videos I do, I'm always providing evidence. It's not just me saying things from hearsay. So here we go. We're just going to take a snapshot of the whole video is about 12 minutes, but I'm only going to give you a couple.
The problem with the police and the problem that I'm seeing and the phone calls that I'm getting from police, they don't want to enforce this stuff. They are part of the community. So enforcing this on the community, they're enforcing them on themselves. If they're going to enforce this stuff, they're removing their own freedoms by doing so. Most of the police now understand that COVID is not what we've been told it is. And they're frustrated with it. They're over it. A lot of them want to actually leave. But again, they're in a situation where they might have a mortgage or something and don't want to.
So they want to leave, but they don't want to, right? There's your contradiction right there. If you want to do something, you go and do it, right? So what is he trying to justify here? Oh, well, them looking after their own version of slavery and their comfort is more important than actually being moral. But up until this point, where they got to this bit where they realized, actually, this is going to affect our lives, well, we're still going to go ahead and do it anyway, because the most important thing is that I pay my slave masters off. Right, that's more important than actually standing up for morality. I mean, I never stood up for it in the beginning, so, I mean, why is it such a big deal now, right? So everything comes back down to, trying to hide behind the lie that they started off with in the first place, and it's a lie just doesn't get better. This is the whole mind trick, right? And the people that get in there and support this kind of thinking are stuck there as well, which I'm going to show you soon. Right, so anyway, let's continue to hear what he says.
There's a lot of scared police out there at the moment, fearful of where we're headed, fearful of what they're being asked to do.
So they're fearful of where they're headed and what they're being asked to do, but they're still going ahead and doing it. Right, you think about that. Where else would that fly? In what other situation would there be a justification for that? But here, this guy is aiming to justify it. Like, you got to think about the actual mental illness one must be in to actually try and pass this off as being something virtuous that he was part of.
Not wanting to do it, that's not why they join the police. They join there to help the community, to be there for members of the community when they need police. That is why. That's what gives them purpose.
So you think about that delusion, right? And I'm going to show you, right? This is from a guy who used to be an ex-cop. I'm going to show you shortly just exactly what they sign up for and what they know they're getting into straight away, right? So that's a fantasy that he's espousing right now. Right? So this guy's outright lying, and I'm going to be able to prove it.
I've been aware for a long time that, and a lot of police are, that what is displayed on mainstream media is false.
So if he's aware of what's being displayed on mainstream media is false, why don't they go and do something about it? Isn't that what they're paid to do? Why do they just let it slide? Like, there's so many fallacies here about what this guy's trying to sell as being a moral, upright person, that just because he stood up against, something that he found, okay, that's the line, now all of a sudden I'm not crossing that one, but, all my buddies, they're still doing it, and somehow it's my job to get them out, and I'm going to go against this corrupt system, which I've always known is corrupt, but for some reason now it's even really, really corrupt, and now I don't like it anymore. This kind of madness, that's what we're dealing with, and that's what people support. People actually, in the so-called freedom movement, actually think this is a wonderful achievement. This is the level of delusion we need to actually start unpacking.
It's being able to read mainstream media and say, what are they trying to get at? And looking deep. They're pushing COVID so hard on the population.
Yeah, that's the only time it mattered, right? When it got a bit uncomfortable for him. So now we're going to go into the comment that came up in the group. Let me just enlarge it so it can be easier to read. Whilst risking throwing fuel on a fire, I had a different viewpoint on the video that was shared. Now, just before I kept reading, that was in response to a comment I put up about the massive contradictions of this guy and why people are still promoting this in so-called freedom groups, right? I found it quite interesting and refreshing that some police are commencing their journey on questioning if things are adding up right. A glimmer of hope. Now, before I go any further, now I'm going to play you that video I promised from a guy who used to be an ex-piggy, slave patroller, and now is coming out and spilling his guts.
I want to talk about how I used to lie to you, the public, when I was a police officer. To set the table, I want to make you aware of 3 bits of case law that apply here. Frazier v. Cupp is the foundational case in which the Supreme Court ruled that during an interrogation, generally speaking, police deception does not render a confession coerced. Meaning, cops can lie during an interrogation, and if you confess based on that lie, too bad for you. Second is Miller v. Fenton, which ultimately found that an officer pretending to be your friend, using soothing words to encourage you to unburden yourself, does not render a confession coerced, even if the officer's comforting tones were clear psychological manipulation. Lastly, there's a case called In the Matter of DAS from 1978, in which police pretended to run fingerprints on a stolen pocketbook and told the defendant that they had found his prints on it, and this caused him to confess. The courts ruled that this was A-OK. So when you get upset at me over the next 5 to 10 minutes, I just want you to know, a bunch of judges told us we were allowed to do stuff like this.
Now, this is really, really critical. I want you to really think about what he just said. He basically said that he was willing to do what he knows is unconscionable, but he did it anyway because, why? Someone else said it's okay. Right? That's the level that this guy was willing to operate from. Now, he knew the whole time, right? Because otherwise he wouldn't come out and say it now, like, oh yeah, I was figuring out slowly. There's no way you wouldn't know that that's not okay, because you on an individual level would not accept it. This guy, nor any other piggy that dresses up in that costume would accept it if it happened to them and be totally fine about it. That's how you know, right? And so they're showing you the entire system of the courts, these fake courts, and the police are in it together, hand in glove. They're working together the whole time to what? To run a criminal syndicate. They take everyday behavior that people engage in and they criminalize it to make it a business. That's the point. And he was part of that, and he was willing to do it. As soon as you take power that no one else has, and you take it upon yourself to use that power for this kind of work, If you show me someone who doesn't know that something's seriously bent about that, on a deeper conscious level, I'd like you to show me who that would be. Who wouldn't be able to tell on some conscious level. You know, you can lie detect them if you don't believe it. I'm willing to bet whatever you like, it'll all come out in the wash. And still, yet people want to believe that these people are innocent, that they go into it for the right reasons. Right, so let's listen to what else he has to say.
One lie that I told very frequently was that cooperating with my investigation would look good in court, heavily implying that confessing could perhaps mitigate your sentence. We were not allowed to explicitly say, if you confess, you'll get a reduced sentence, so we used vague promises of looking good to imply that. Often, I had a very weak case that would fall apart without the confession, and I relied on people opening up to me to get enough probable cause to arrest them. Sometimes, if I wanted you for a simple misdemeanor like a theft or a graffiti, I would imply that I had probable cause to arrest you for a far more serious felony to entice you to confess to the lesser misdemeanor and save your skin. Other times I lied and said that I didn't want to arrest anyone, I just wanted to know what really happened so that I could close out the report and move on. I would say, look, they sent me to this call, I think it's bullshit, I just need to put something in the computer to close out the call. Well, why don't you let me know what really happened and we can get out of your hair. Occasionally I would imply that not talking to me could be considered obstruction, and I might heavily imply that I would arrest you for the obstruction, but not for the original crime if you just told me what really happened. I never said that outright, but I was able to be vague enough to, confuse people. I frequently lied and told people that I had video evidence, eyewitness testimony, confessions from co-conspirators in order to get those people to confess or to wind them up so that they would rat someone else out. I would say, hey, your buddy already told me what you did, but I think he's lying, and I want to get your side of the story. I think he's trying to screw you over. I was very good at making you feel like I was on your side. And not all lies were in the service of fighting crime. Here's a banal one. Sometimes people would want to report a minor crime, like a vandalism or a theft, and it would never actually be solvable, no witnesses, no evidence. And when I was feeling particularly lazy and they insisted on filing a report, instead of a report number, I would give them the incident number assigned to their call by the computer and tell them that I was filing this case in our national database. This is pure fiction. A note in the computer is not getting investigated. I don't even think it counts as a crime stat. I just set it to avoid filling out a whole page report that was going to go nowhere. Sometimes I would park in a fire lane so that I could run in and get food from a restaurant. Occasionally people would complain about me parking illegally when there was no emergency, and I would lie and say that, well, actually the California Supreme Court ruled that police vehicles could use a fire lane for any reason while on duty. I'm such an asshole. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. Police officers have been told that it's legal to lie to you, and they have been trained to do so.
I'm going to pause it there because a couple of years ago I remember meeting someone who did get trained in the legal profession, and that's what she told me. She told me they're taught that in the academy. And so when I saw this, I'm like, wow, instead of now just me having hearsay, I've actually got someone who's actually corroborating that. So that was a little bit of gold there for you. Now that you know that, if you didn't know that before, think about our friend here, Senior Constable Goonie, right? Do you really think that he was innocent the whole time and he was there to protect the people? Do you honestly believe that? Like, this guy's shown you how they're hand in glove with the whole criminal structure, right? Do you think he couldn't have figured any of that out by himself? This Mr. Family Man, he wants to bring up his child in this safe world. This whole thing, the way that it's been presented. Do you honestly believe that, right? This is the questions that people will not face. Why do people refuse to face that there are people amongst us that intend to get advantage over other people? Why won't they face that? Is it because there's maybe something about their own personality that screams out about what they're doing? That's the part that really needs to be looked at here. We're going to get down into the deep truths, right? Those who rush to the aid of police, what are they concealing about themselves? That's the biggest question that needs to be asked here. And I'm willing to bet if we dig down deeper into those individuals that rush to their aid, there'd be something really wicked that they're hiding. Right? And that's what the biggest problem is. The people will not face up to themselves, so then they hide behind these kind of comments about virtues and yada yada people don't know, and I'm going to get into that even deeper. And here you are, you're hearing it from the piggy's mouth, right? He's telling you how it was. There's no way he could have not known that, right? So he was told that at the beginning, and he still went ahead and did it, knowing that he was told that this is how we operate. We lie to gain confession. So let's hear why that happened.
In fact, in the court case McNeil versus Wisconsin, Antonin Scalia wrote the following: "Admissions of guilt are more than merely desirable. They are essential to society's compelling interest in finding, convicting, and punishing those who violate the law."
Alright, this is critical, guys. And when we say law, it doesn't actually mean natural law, the laws that exist in nature. It means the scribbles of politicians, the most immoral people. It means that they're going to come up with a way to harvest the population. Right? These are people who do not want to produce anything. They want to live off the backs of others. Right? And they need to justify that. So they create this thing called law through that legislation. And so how can they make a living out of it? And not just that, but get really wealthy and get more power. This is it. This is the whole structure of why the fake courts work with the immoral order followers to do this. Right? It says it here. They need to get you to admit guilt. That's why you're taught from day one, as soon as you walk into that academy, that you are okay to lie. I hope this is starting to drop some pennies for you if you haven't figured this out already. Right? It's there right in your face. The whole system's designed to get people to admit to things that are just not even a crime. But as long as they admit to guilt, that's all they're looking for, right? Because that's that karmic debt. That's their washing themselves of karmic debt by someone admitting to something. They don't care how they've gone about to get them to do that. They don't see that as immoral, right? That's not the issue. As long as they say those words, that's all they care about. Now, you think about the sickness that these people come and support, and they're part of.
The media landscape is so full of Copaganda, making it look like law enforcement is mostly unsung heroes saving society from itself. Anytime network TV needs to fill a slot, it's either Sexy Time Hospital or Police Cops, Town City, USA. These uncritical and ubiquitous portrayals of law enforcement influence juries to side with cops over defendants, and they influence the average person reading the news to just take the police's word for it. Never take a cop's word for it. Never believe the official account. We haven't even gotten into how some police reports are written, massaged, polished, and occasionally outright fabricated.
Again, there you have it from the piggy's mouth, right? This is part of their daily practice. So you tell me that Alexander Gooney, right, that he wasn't doing anything like that. Let's see him show his record, right? Before he starts making it out like, oh yeah, he's this upstanding member of the community that just, I just won't have it. So if you're hearing me say piggy and you're going, well, hang on a sec, that makes you bias and prejudice, etc., I just want to ask you this question. By him doing this video, right, and only that and making a sequence of them, you can see him on YouTube, did he actually really take full ownership of what he's done, the wages that he was drawing from violating people's rights and knowing he was doing that and getting off on it? I mean, you just heard him say what an arsehole he is, right? How much did he really care to go back into all those people's lives that he was initiating violence to, right? And actually own up to it in their face and then see what they might like to do about that. Did he take any of those steps, right? Is this really enough? That's why I'm calling him a piggy. Because if you are unwilling to go and face your victims and then see how life has been affected, they've been affected by your actions, how much really are you doing to actually change reality? Right? That's the bottom line. Because is he still keeping this whole system going, right? Just by telling us how it works, but does he actually change anything about his own behavior towards the people that he's violated? Has he really shown remorse by actually, giving his time and energy and labor? Has he given up any of the wealth that he created, right, from violating people? What has he done about that? So that's why I call him a piggy, just so you know. Okay, so that's where I'm going to leave it for this section. Like I said, it's going to be critical to watch every aspect because they're all different pieces of one large puzzle. And if you miss any aspect, you're going to miss out on what the purpose of the whole demonstration was about and how much you can learn and grow from this, what's being put before you. Just before I leave, just going to quickly just shoot to a bit of info about where you can find more truths that are verifiable. So just stick around. So if you're ready to act, guys, you just go to magnacarta1215.com. There it is. You'll click on news and articles. This will take you here, and then you just scroll down, and you'll see here there's a cover letter to download, and then there's the 12 points. It's like a flyer. So just showing the cover letter. There it is up here. It's always officer in charge because that way it goes to whoever's the highest ranking officer on that day when they get the mail. The red part is just showing the editable bits, so you would change that obviously in accordance with the station that you're sending to, and then just change to black after that. But I just want to scroll down quickly. I want to go to this bit here where it talks about what's coming for them down the pike when enough people work it out, and the correct system that we're supposed to be working under, which is trial by jury, where the people assess the crimes committed against them because they're the victims of it. So who's better to assess it than we're the victims, and the consciousness of the community, because there's a neutral space there. So it just says that, you know, they won't be standing in front of any government-appointed judges, magistrates or court officers because they're their protection right. They've created a legal protection network, which is just a way to conceal crime. So that will be gone. They won't have that. And then it just says what's coming from them down the pike is the things that they're looking at: trespass, assaults, thefts, extortions, threats with menaces, malfeasance in public office, etc. Are most severe for sworn officers of the law who brazenly and without apparent remorse assume the role of criminals, which is pretty much what they're doing, hands down. There's not one there that could get away with it. The offences extend all the way to sedition, which means publicly denying the validity of the Constitution, and misprision of treason and high treason, which carry respectively the punishments of full asset stripping and life in prison or even the gallows. Then it goes on to say 2 final points for consideration. 1, people who commit crimes at the behest of others are always vulnerable to the risk that the order givers might decide to tidy up loose ends by disposing of the order followers preemptively. An example of which is given in the second QR code. And the other one is most people are of the type willing to grant clemency to those who display remorse or are willing to assist in the apprehension or cessation of ongoing crimes. So it's just signed Commonwealth Constitutional Alliance. So it's all covered, guys. You don't have to put your name to it, anything like that. And there's the 12 points there. I've covered it in previous videos. So that's all the QR codes that are on there. I'm not going to read into it too much. You guys can read it in your own time. It's pretty potent, powerful. So that's all I wanted to show you. So if you're ready to back it, it's all done for you. You just need to put it together and shove it in an envelope. And you've got instructions on the website of how to do that.